Hello, and welcome to the Infinite Financial Freedom Podcast, where we empower you with financial literacy and guide you on your journey to financial freedom. I'm Josh Metal, and I'm here today with Eric Mitchell. Eric is a published author, professional trainer, public speaker, mentor, coach, and certified master in Neuro-Linguistic Programming. I hope we get into that today. Eric's trained thousands of professionals all over North America. He's also the author of the book titled The Why of Money. I'm definitely going to get into that today. And Eric's here today to talk about everything that's kind of going around us that is changing. You know, the economy feels like it's changing. The world feels like it's changing. We're going to talk about how to be successful in spite of the things that we might not control fully. So Eric, thanks for making time for us today, man. I'm stoked to spend a little time into this conversation.
Me as well. Excited for today.
Thanks, Eric. Well, let's jump in, man, because I'm really fascinated about you. So tell me a little bit about your background, how you got down the path of coaching, writing, mentoring, NLP. Tell us a little bit about the backstory.
Yeah. So I was born and raised in Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada. I'm a Canuck. And so
That's why I like you.
Yeah, well, by nature, right? So Canadians were taught the importance of village, the importance of the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the individual, which is a little different than what's being taught in the United States. And so I have a very different outlook on things. And I'm not saying the needs of the individual have no weight. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that there has to be a balance. And so Canadians look at things differently, and being nice is important. You know, being considerate. That's, you know, people joke about how Canadians always say, I'm sorry, right? Oh, hey, I'm sorry. It's like, yeah, we do, because we are, right? We don't want to hurt people's feelings. We don't want people to feel bad. We want people to feel good. We want people to feel part of something, right? It's important to Canadians for that to be a part of the culture. And so that's what I was raised with as an overall culture. But at the same time, I had a very distinct lack of parental guidance growing up. So my dad was an absentee, working 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, building out a business. You know, that's a longer story. My mom was ill. And so she was bedridden most of my childhood. And so literally, you know, I had no parental guidance. And so I've never had a curfew. No one ever taught me how to brush my teeth. No one ever taught me how to do laundry. No one ever taught me how to make a meal. No one ever taught me how to, from as early as I can remember, I had to figure everything out on my own. And so when you grow up that way, you miss some pretty important life lessons, right? When parents aren't teaching you, hey, here's the difference between right and wrong. And here's what it means to treat people with respect. And here's what it means to be a good person. And here's what it means to be, right? No one's teaching you any of that stuff. You miss things, right? And so I still find myself, you know, even later in life going, oh, wait a second. That's a lesson I should have learned earlier on. Wait a second, hold on. Good thing I'm learning. Like one of my favorite friends in my life, who's also a mentor in my life, is Renee Rodriguez, right? A really good friend of yours, a mutual friend of ours. Tim Brahim, another mentor, good friend, mutual friend of ours, right? These are people that I attract into my life on purpose because I need their guidance, right? Like I need them to say, no, Eric, no, don't do that. Hold on, brother. You need to do it this way. It's like, oh,
Stove is hot, Eric. No.
Yeah, that's correct. The stove is hot. That's correct. That's correct, right? And so they guide me. Hey, do it this way instead of that way. Use this language instead of that language. And so one of the journeys, I was 21 years old at the time, and I was working at a job, and one of my coworkers was coming to work every day, very, very happy, like too happy, like he was smiling all the time, every day, like it was just all the time. I was like, dude, you're obnoxious. Like I borderline hate you. Like, why are you happy all the time? Because I wasn't, right? And so I found it to be obnoxious. And he said, oh, dude, I found this guy. His name's Tony Robbins. Now, this is Tony Robbins before he was big, right? He had just come on the scene. And I said, never heard of the guy. He said, oh, they do these things on Wednesday nights. You should come check it out. And so I went to this free thing on Wednesday night, and they're introducing the concept of what Tony Robbins is teaching, and ended up going to a 3-day weekend retreat with Tony Robbins when I was 21 years old. Radically changed my life. And it had one of the exercises we had to do was list out the 3 phobias in your life. I remember this exercise. And so the 3 phobias I wrote down were fear of heights, fear of public speaking, and fear of love. Those are my 3 phobias. Fear of love. Can you imagine you're 21 years old and you have a phobia of love? And for those of you that are listening to this, I want you to imagine the difference between a fear and a phobia.
Oh, yeah.
Phobia means that this equals death.
Right.
That's your brain associates. It's not that you're afraid of it. It's that your brain associates it with death. And so there I am, 21. And to me, love equals death. That's not a limiting belief at all, right? I'm not on a path to destruction. And so, okay, wow, I need to make some changes in my life, don't I? And so that put me on a completely different trajectory that weekend. And so one of the things I looked at is like, do I want to learn what Tony Robbins teaches, or do I want to learn what Tony Robbins learned? I was like, okay, wait a second. What did he learn? Well, he went through Richard Bandler and learned Neuro-Linguistic Programming. That's what set him on that path. So I went and said, okay, what is Neuro-Linguistic Programming? What is that? And so I went and sought out Neuro-Linguistic Programming, went on a journey of about 10 years. And I got certified master practitioner, trained the trainer on Neuro-Linguistic Programming. And that certainly radically changed my life, radically changed all of my understanding of myself, human dynamics, how it all works. And so that helped me fix a big part of me. Like, why did I want things? How do I change that about myself? What's serving me? What's not serving me? Right? How do I adjust it? How do I change my destructive patterns? Right? I'm divorced twice. Right? That's not good. Now, some people might say, yeah, well, women are crazy though. It's like, no, women aren't crazy. There's one common denominator in me being divorced twice, and that's me. Right? My decisions, my actions, my behavior, my choices, that's the common denominator. So what is it about that I need to change? And so, but I don't know. I don't know what I need to change. So how do I get on a path to figure that out? And without blaming, there can't be a blame. There just has to be solutions. So what are the solutions? And I don't want to deal with when you look at the difference between Western medicine and Eastern medicine, I don't want to deal with the symptoms. I want to deal with the cause, right? Because Western medicine, a lot of times want to deal with the symptoms, right? Rather than the cause, right? The symptom is you have a headache. The cause is you eat McDonald's 4 times a week, right? Let's remove the McDonald's 4 times a week, and you'll by default remove the headaches, right? But in Western medicine, they want to give you an aspirin or a Tylenol, right? And so in my life, I want to always try and deal with the cause, not the symptom. And so NLP helped me do that. And then that put me on a journey. Our mutual friend, Tim Brahim, put me, it was so funny. In 2006, he and I did an event together, and I was telling him my story about Tony Robbins, the same story. And we did an event together, and the keynote speaker for the event was Tony Robbins, actual Tony Robbins, 2006. And Tim had it in the contract where he put me in the green room with Tony Robbins for 15 minutes privately so I could tell Tony Robbins my story. Because 15 years prior, I had a phobia of public speaking. 15 years later, there I am on stage in front of 2,000 people for 4 days, sharing the stage with Tony Robbins. Because 15 years prior, I had been in a Tony Robbins weekend, getting rid of that phobia. Right? It was a full circle moment. And so Tim Brahim got me that 15 minutes, and it's a gift I'll never forget. And so that relationship with Tim, I remember I had a conversation with Tim in 2003. And if you remember back to 2003 in the mortgage industry, I was making more money than God. I'm a little kid from Canada. I moved to the United States. In 1999, I moved to the US. 4 years later, I'm making more money than I'd ever dreamed. I'd never dreamed I could make that much money. And there I am having a meeting with Tim Brahim, an icon in the industry. And he asked me, all this money that you're making, like, why do you want to make this money? Like, what does it do for you? And I looked at him and I remember being embarrassed because I didn't know how to answer the question. I didn't even know why he was asking me the question. I was like, what do you mean? Why do I want the money? Because I want the money. What do you mean? Why? Because you want money. Like what? Huh? And I'm thinking, I'm looking at him and I'm feeling absolutely embarrassed that this brilliant human that I have the immense respect for is asking me a question that I've never even thought of an answer to. And thinking, wow, this is not good. Okay, I need to come up with an answer to this. Okay, how do I now, how do I get on a journey of figuring this out? Why do I want money? What does it do for me? What is the end goal of having money? Like, what are you supposed to do with it? Okay, yeah, I'm making money. So does that make you a better person? What are you supposed to, wait a second, hold on. And so that put me on a journey and so it ended up me asking questions of people like you, right? Hey, Josh, why do you want money? Why do you work more than, right? Because you don't need money anymore. Why are you doing this now? Why? And I started seeking out all of the best of the best of the best. And I would ask that same question. Why do you work the way you work? Why do you do more than you need? Because you make more than you need. But when you look at whether it be mortgage or real estate or financial planners or insurance, or it doesn't matter the industry, all entrepreneurs, only 1% of any industry makes more than they need. 99% of that industry, they make what they need and then they stop selling. They stop. They go to the beach, they have a barbecue with their family, they watch TV on a Sunday, they watch football on Sunday, they play fantasy football. In the fall, whatever, they occupy their time with other things. 1% don't stop. They keep going. They go way past the mark. They don't need the money. They don't need it. Brother, they don't need $5 million a year. Nobody needs $5 million a year, $10 million a year. Nobody needs that, right? Now, it's nice to have. Don't get me wrong. Life's easier, but you don't need it. So why do they keep going? Something else is driving it. And so I would ask the question. I had all these hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of deep conversations with all these, what I call masters of their craft. I would ask, like, why do you keep going? And I noticed a pattern. And so one of the things that I've learned about myself in neuro-linguistic programming is my brain operates in something called auditory digital. And so everything to me is a sequence. So an auditory digital person, I struggle anytime something's out of sequence. So if we're trying to do something, you'll hear me say all the time, whoa, you're at step 9. I'm at step 3. Whoa, we back up, please. I can't deal with step 9 until we deal with step 3 because I can't get there yet, right? You'll hear that from me all the time. And if you hear that, the person you're talking to is auditory digital, right? And so I hate being late. I hate when other people are late. I hate when I'm at a seminar and the seminar starts late, right? You're out of sequence. You didn't plan this properly. You're not even on your agenda. Like, what's going on? Tim Brahim, full auditory digital, right? Like, oh my God, it's the auditory digital, which I love, right? I was like, oh my God, that's like basking in a warm bath when I'm around it. and so, but when you're auditory digital, you see patterns. Because my brain functions in zeros and ones and everything to me is the sequence, I see very clear patterns. And so I would ask the same question over and over again. Why do you want what you want? Why do you want money? And I clearly always quickly noticed the answer never came back as money. Not one time. Josh, I am telling you, man, not a single one time did the 1% ever one time tell me the reason I work this hard is for money. The 99% always told me it was about money, which is why they never got it.
That's insightful.
1%, brother, I'm telling you. Right. And so I was like, wait a second, hold on. That you got to sink your teeth into that. That is not a coincidence. Right. The 1% are not focused on the money. That's why they get the money.
Mm-hmm.
The 99% are focused on the money, which is why they don't get the money. Oh, hold on. Okay, hold on. I really need to dive into this. So if the 1% are not focused on the money, what are they focused on? And then I categorized it and I realized that there's only 5 buckets. There's only 5. It's over and over and over again. It's the same 5 buckets. And so you can have more than one. It doesn't have to be just one, but it was always one or more of the same 5. And so bucket number 1, and some of these buckets don't resonate, right? You might say, well, that's not me. That doesn't resonate with me at all. Okay, that's fine. But you only need 1 out of the 5.
Right.
Right. That's it. You only need 1. You don't need all 5. So the first bucket was lifestyle enhancements. So somebody who came from a really bad place and I'm just never going to go back. And Josh, I'm going to say to you, that sounds like that might resonate with you. You got you had a tough childhood. and so those humans, they look at life and say, so wait a second, all I have to do is outwork you. I'm just going to outwork you.
Yeah.
I'm never going to go back to that. I'm never going to go open a fridge and be afraid of there not being food in there. Yep. I'm never going back to that. I'm just going to outwork you. You'll never outwork me. I'll just grind into the dirt no matter what. Right. And I know a lot of our CEO was like that. He's a political refugee from Kiev, Ukraine, moved to the United States when he was 13, didn't speak any English. He's a self-made gajillionaire because he's never going back. He'll just outwork you.
It's fear. And fear, when you know how to control it, even if you don't know how to control it, is one of the most powerful energies in the world.
Very powerful.
Because you will never stop running from it.
You will never stop. Well, hold on. Now, I'm going to suggest to you that you subconsciously have transitioned. And I'll get to that here in just a second. There's been a transition, which congratulations to you. You did. Some people don't.
Maybe transitioning.
Maybe. I don't know that you ever lose it. It's that it becomes less
powerful over you, right? It has less control.
It has a little less control. It's still there. You're conscious of it. You're aware of it, but it's no longer the driver.
Yeah. Amen.
Right. Something else takes over as the driver. It's now the passenger. It's still in the car, but it's not driving the car anymore.
That's a great way to say it.
And so for some people, right, it's I'm just going to outwork you, right? And so you look at immigrant families coming from a third world country, they open up a business and they just work in the business. They rotate family members in the business, right? And they just live in like a family restaurant, a 7-Eleven, or whatever, right? And they just work in the business 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah. And
they don't care. They'll just outwork you, right? And that's an example of lifestyle enhancement. Okay, so that's one example. Number 2 is emotional gratification. They're looking for a single moment in time, like literally a second, 1 second in time. I just need this one moment and I'll do anything to get it. And so that's what they're driven to. And so that was for me. I needed to prove my dad wrong. And I was willing to do anything to prove him wrong. He was telling me my whole childhood, I was never going to accomplish what he accomplished. It was based on 2 things. It's like, okay, got it. I'm never going to accomplish what you're going to accomplish. Got it. Now I have to. Thank you. And so 3 years ago, I did it, right? It took me 30 years, but I got it. Right. And he's to this day doesn't know that I got it. He wasn't in the room. He doesn't know. I don't need him to know. I needed it for me. Right. And so I got that moment 3 years ago. And so that moment collapsed for me. And so I had to transition. Right. So it's still in the car, but it's not the driver anymore. Right. And so you look at one of my favorite stories is, and it's not favorite because of the bad thing that happened, but is Janis Joplin. So Janis Joplin, her primary goal was, I want to be the number one female musician in the world, number one selling female artist in the world, planet Earth. I want to be number one, right? That was her driving, right? And she hit it. Janis Joplin, number one in the world. She got it, and it collapsed. She didn't transition. She didn't know what to do. She got the moment, didn't know what to do with the moment, turned to drugs because she didn't have a transition. Turned to drugs, died, drug overdose, right? Because the driver wasn't there anymore, right? It was gone.
Yeah.
And so that's a problem.
Yep.
And so you got to be able to pivot. Once you collapse the driver, you got to transition drivers. You got to put in the new driver, which is number 5, by the way. We'll get there here in a second. And so also emotional gratification, if you ever hear like a professional athlete and they get to the microphone after signing their first professional contract, they're like, dude, you show up to practice 2 hours before anybody else. You stay 2 hours later than anybody else. Like, why do you work so hard? It's like, I just want to buy my mom a house. That's it. Don't care about the money. Nope. Just want to buy my mom a house.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, there it is. Right. Like, he just wants to buy it. That's it. It has nothing to do with the money. And he will outwork you 7 days a week to get it.
Yep.
And so that's the driver for some. And it may not be as a listener, that may not be a driver for you. That's okay. But it is for some. Number 3 is taking care of your parents. For some, your parents, you might be in a culture that says, I need to care for my parents. And my parents are not ready for retirement, right? And I need to build an ADU on the back of my house for my parents to move into. I need to create long-term care for my parents. I need to buy a house next to me for my parents to move into because I got to take care of them. I need to have a bigger house because they're going to move into my house. I need to whatever. So I'm just going to earn way more money than I need to because I need to care for my parents, whatever that is, right? I need an extra $1 million a year because my parents are not ready. And so I'm just going to do whatever that is. So that's number 3. Number 4 is opportunities for your children. And so I hear that. It's fascinating to me. And this doesn't feel good for some people. And I get it. And I'm not a parent. So I'm not an expert. I can't say that, hey, here's how being a parent works because I'm not a parent. So I'm not qualified. And that's actually chapter 2 in my book is only accept advice from people that are qualified. So I'm not qualified. I can't give you advice on being a parent because I'm not a parent. When I talk to parents, one of the things that I hear most of them say is, I'll do anything for my kids, right? I love my kids. I'll crawl on broken glass. I'll take a bullet for my kids. There's nothing I'm not prepared to do for my kids. And then, but if you're in the 99%, not the 1%, if you're in the 99%, my next question is, do you watch television? Well, yeah. Okay, then that's not an accurate statement. Because you're choosing to escape your children. You're choosing to escape time. You're not choosing to build a business. You're not choosing to build a life. You're not choosing to enhance their lives. You're not choosing to enhance your life. You're choosing to sit on a couch and watch TV. That's what you're choosing. So don't sit there in front of me and tell me you're prepared to do anything for your children, because you're not. You're talking to me about your intent. I'm describing your behavior. And I get that doesn't feel good. I get it. But that's the truth. So what are we going to do about it? And part of coaching, right? And you're a coach as well. Part of being a coach, the biggest problem with being a coach is what you have to do as a coach is hold up a mirror to the person you're in front of and say, this is the problem. Now, what are we going to do about it? Right? It's not the economy. It's not your family. It's not your clients, right? It's you. You're the problem. Now, what are we going to do? And that doesn't feel good. Nobody wants it. And people sure don't want to pay a fee for it, right? Like, so I'm paying you to tell me that I'm the problem. Yep. That's what's happening, because you are the problem. There's
Extreme ownership, baby.
That's it, right? And so as a parent, If you're not in the 1% and you choose to go home and watch TV, that's a problem because you're not building a business, which you could be with that same amount of time.
Yeah.
That's number 4. And then number 5, which is what you've transitioned to, Josh, congratulations, is legacy. Right? Something that means more than you. It has nothing to do with you, right? What's your permanency? What's your footprint? What makes you immortal? What makes you matter? What makes you leave this world a better place? What makes you matter to others? What's your body count at your funeral? Right? How many people show up to your funeral? That's now. What's the focus? Is how many lives can you touch? How many millionaires can you make? How many fridges can you fill up? Right? That's the focus now, because you don't need the money anymore. That you accomplished the first part, right? Your first fear, right? That first driver has been satisfied permanently, right? So you took that driver and you put him in the passenger seat, and you put in the new driver, which is legacy. You made the transition. But a lot of people don't, and so they turn to self-destruction, right? So they turn to drug addiction, or they cheat on their spouse, or they become alcoholics, or they become gamblers. They don't transition the driver. They accomplish the driver. They don't transition it, and they self-destruct because the driver has been accomplished and it's no longer viable. And I see it all the time.
Yep.
Right? How many times have you seen a really good person accomplish a major life goal and then self-destruct? It's like, what are you doing? Oh my God, look what you did. And then you just threw it all away. Oh my God, what happened? Well, they didn't transition the driver. Right? And so congratulations to you and all the people you surround yourself with, right? The Ryan Grants of the world, and the Tim Brahims of the world, and the Dannys of the world, and all of you, right? You're all transitioning your drivers. And so it creates this incredible world that attracts like kind. And so, it's beautiful to watch. Really, truly, from the outside looking in, it's beautiful to watch.
Well, thanks for the kind words. And man, I think that was really insightful to put it in that context. It's kind of like the, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? It's hard to focus on self-actualization if you don't have any water. Do you find that anybody ever gets to that second driver before they actually accomplish the first driver? Or do you see that as a prerequisite?
No, I watch people all the time trying to become a life coach while they're broke. And you know them.
Yeah.
And you know them, right? Broke life coaches. Who do they attract? Right? Broke people. And you got a bunch of broke people running around showing people how to be broke. Right? And we know them. We see them all the time, right? You can name 20 of them, I'm sure, right off the top of your head. And so, no, that's just a bunch of broke people teaching people how to be broke. No. I get that it's controversial because it doesn't feel good. I get it. I understand that. But it's not about feeling good. It's about dealing with truth.
That's right.
I care about truth. I don't care. I don't need someone to make me feel good. What I want is someone to give me truth, whatever that is. And for me, I've never met somebody who has life balance who's broke. I've met this person because they're worried about money. They're worried about how to put food on the table. They're worried about time with their family. They're worried about how they're going to pay rent. They're worried. Okay, if you're worried, you don't have balance. Therefore. So how about, and I've never met somebody, I don't care if you're Oprah Winfrey, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, I don't care who you are. Like, let's talk about Elon Musk. People, oh, he's a billionaire. Oh yeah, he slept on the floor of his manufacturing plants for 2 years.
Right.
Listen to that. He slept on the floor of his manufacturing plants for 2 years straight. Slept on the floor. Like, don't talk to me about how hard you work until you understand that. Right? You want to be a billionaire? Do that. Right? I was watching a podcast with another multimillionaire, and they asked him, if you lost everything tomorrow, everything, something happened and you went to zero tomorrow, what would you do? He said, well, assuming that's a real question, I would kiss my family goodbye. I would move them into a little apartment. I would move into some other apartment because I can't be a contributing member to my family while I'm rebuilding. And so I love them. I'm still your husband. I'm still your dad, but I'm moving out for 90 days and I'm rebuilding because I have to work. I have to work 20. I'm going to sleep for 4 hours a day. I'm going to work for 20. I'm going to have a job for 8 hours because I have to pay your rent and put food in your fridge. I'm going to do that for 8 hours. And I'm going to build us a life back with the rest of the time. And I need 90 days. I'll be back in 90 days. And I love you all very much. And I'm like, that is a billionaire mindset. There it is. That's the guy right there. That's who I want to follow into battle. Right. And so, like, you either understand that and you're prepared to pay those kinds of prices to accomplish what you want to accomplish, or you don't want it bad enough. And that's okay. You may not want it bad enough. And that's okay. That doesn't make you a bad person, right? Just recognize that you don't want it bad enough. And some of us do. Yeah. And so we're going to pay bigger price tags.
Eric, have you read Robin Sharma's book, The Everyday Hero? And then one of the chapters is there, you love this book. One of his chapters is 13 hidden traits of the billionaires that he's advised. And he's coached and advised a bunch of billionaires. And he wrote down 13 commonalities between them. And as you're talking about this thing, I'm like, this is registering for me. And I just went to my notes. As soon as we get off this, and I'll put it in the show notes, I'll send you my notes from the chapter, but you're going to love it. You're going to want to read this book. It's a really
love it. I'm all over it. Yeah. I mean, my next book, and I feel embarrassed. I still haven't read Renee Rodriguez's book yet. So that's my next book. I have to get that on I think I'm blocking off a day this weekend to finally, to read that book. But
if you pay for 4 or 5 of his coaching events, you can get rid of the guilt of not reading his book. It's okay.
Oh yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. I still need to get through it and highlight it and go through all of it. But yeah, no, that'll be next for sure. But there has to be extremes, like whoever you are, so using you as an example, right? So you've got 200 rental doors, right? You've got 200 rental properties in the state of Utah. And so you can take your foot off the gas. But when somebody doesn't have that, then your foot better be on the gas. Yeah. And that's just what it is. And anybody says, no, I'm going to live like Josh, but I don't have 200 rent. Well, then you don't get to live like Josh because you haven't paid the price that Josh paid to get the 200 rental doors.
Well, or as you say, the motivation changes and you find it. I would frame it up as you find a different game. But if you've won the game and you're still trying to win the game, you're going to crash sooner or later. I think you said that really, really well. And so, it's just time to find that next game that keeps you enthralled and passionate. I want to
for your legacy now, though, I'm imagining, and I don't know this to be true, but I'm imagining you're getting a lot more quality time, with your family.
It's true.
As a part of that legacy, you're now transitioning into, I'm imagining your brain has shifted into, what does it mean to also be a mentor to your children? What does it mean to be a mentor to their friends, to their school, to their, right? And so there's a mindset shift that comes with that freedom.
And Tim has helped me with that a lot, Eric, a lot. I had one of those drivers, as you mentioned. I do think it was number one. I think it was the change in lifestyle from scarcity and fear to, abundance that was driving me for so many years I was unaware of. And he really helped me see, keep going down this path to what you think will make you happy. And tell me if that really, if that really gives you the payoff that you need. And by the way, what are the costs of getting there?
Right.
And I went, okay. Faster on the hamster wheel doesn't equal more happiness. Thanks for the insight.
Yeah.
So all credit to Tim to really, and Julie and Scott and his whole coaching team for helping me with that. I think you answered the first question masterfully. I want to get into something that you responded back to me, because I said to you, Eric, this is a major shifting economy. For many, it's already shifted. The cheese is already moved. For others, the economy and different sectors in the economy are just starting to slow down. Michigan consumer sentiment just hit an all-time low last week. I just saw the Dallas Fed study on manufacturing that came out, and it is an absolute nosedive, which has forecasted or predicted 10 of the last 12 recessions. So it feels like inflation, China, Russia, all the things, the Fed taking monetary stimulus out of the economy instead of into the economy, all those things seem to be slowing down the economy. And so my question to you is, as our cheese gets moved, as our sense of normalcy changes, and we go into this more challenging economic environment, what are you coaching people? What are you telling them to focus on? What are you telling them to ignore? And how do they get through it in a way that is the highest quality of life for them in a very difficult time?
So I'm not qualified to give anybody advice on their families, right? As I mentioned, I'm divorced twice. I'm not going to give you advice on. You're way more qualified to give that kind of advice than I am. What I am qualified to do, though, is talk to you about numbers. Right. So I'm just going to talk to you about mathematics. So my first question to anybody is, what's your number? And when I say your number, I just, how much money do you want to make this year? In the next 12 months, I just need a number. Mm-hmm. And I don't want a story, because everybody wants to tell me a story. Well, Eric, no, I don't just start out with, well, Eric, I just want the number, please. Right. Like, just give me a digit. I don't want a story that comes with it. And if you're not going to give me go away somewhere, figure it out and come back. Right. But I just want a digit. Right. And so 99 out of 100 times they give me a number that's way too low. Like, it's like, that's that number. You're never going to retire. You're going to work until you die. You haven't done the mathematics on it. Like, that number is embarrassing. And so, like, we got to start there. And so I can't engage in this if that's your number. So first of all, I'm going to send you a 15-minute video that clearly explains why that can't be your number. And so let's start with anybody listening to this. If you're not making $1 million a year, let's start with right now. If you are not making $1 million a year in sales, you are asleep. Period. You are asleep. Now, I can send you as many videos as you want to show you the mathematics on that. 3% inflation, never mind 8% inflation. Forget, oh my God, 8% inflation, you're doomed. 3% inflation, you cannot get to retirement on less than $1 million a year income. You can't get there. And I can prove it mathematically. And every financial planner, every CPA I've ever shown this 15-minute video to says my math is on point. Can't do it. Can't get there. You'll work until you die. So let's start there. $1 million a year. Now the question, people go, yeah, but I can't get there. I can't make it. Wrong. It's wrong. So now get your brain to, you can, you just don't yet know how. Okay. Now let's get you on the path learning how. What is step one? So think of it like walking upstairs, right? So step one is you need to learn this skill set. Then you learn this skill set. Then step two is you need to learn this skill set. Then you go to the next step, you learn this skill set. Then you go to the next step, you learn this skill set, and you build your skill sets, right? But what's the first skill set? And so I'll never forget Tim Brahim. Like, when I tell you how much impact he's had on my life. Similar meeting I had with Tim, and he was giving me some coaching, and he said, well, let's figure out what's going on in your business. Let's find out where you need help. I said, sure. And he drew out this triangle, and he put six boxes on this triangle, and he labeled them, and he said, okay, level 1, essential knowledge. How strong are you? And I said, oh, dude, I've read all the Fannie Freddie guidelines, FHA guidelines. I got them all memorized. I can underwrite loans in the field. I'm good. He said, okay, great. Sales and presentation skills. That's level 2. Show me your pamphlets, your handouts, your scripts. I said, here's all my scripts. Here's my objection handling. Here's everything. So, oh, dude, you're on point. Great. Level 2's on point. Level 3, marketing. How do you make the phone ring? How do you brand yourself? And here's how I make the phone ring. My phone rings off the hook. I do seminar every week. I'm in front of 100 realtors a week. Oh my God, marketing's on point. Okay, let's move to level 4, systems. Show me your checklists on how when a loan comes in, show me how your team works off a checklist. I said, what's a checklist? He's like, he's like, aha.
No okay. Perfect loan process.
There we go. Perfect loan process, right? I said, what's a checklist? Okay, there we go. There's your pain. That's why you're stuck. There's your ceiling, right? Level 4 was my ceiling. I was like, what's a checklist? A checklist? You can have a checklist? That was literally my answer.
I love it.
Right? And it's like, oh, there's your pain point. Now we're going to make a checklist. Okay. So that's how we're going to fix that. So that was a skill set I hadn't yet learned. So let's learn that skill set. Then your business goes to the next level. So then the next thing was team building. How do you learn disc profiling? How do you position people to succeed versus just throwing bodies at problems? How do you go through an interviewing process? How do you build leaders instead of team members? How do you, right? What does that mean? Right? And at the end is legacy. How do you, at the end of the day, walk away from your business, making yourself irrelevant to the business, which to an entrepreneur is the opposite of what your brain is telling you to do. Right? It's completely the opposite of what your brain is. Your brain is telling you to be valuable. Right? But that's not the goal. The goal is to not be valuable. The goal is to be able to walk away from your business and your business function without you. That's the real goal, which means don't be valuable. Right? You have to not be valuable to the business. The business has to run without you. So how do you build leaders in the business so they don't need you, so that you can walk away from it and it still pay you? Right? And so how do you learn what's in stages? You learn it in pieces, right? Step 1, step 2. It's like losing weight. If you want to lose weight, you go to the gym. Well, you go to the gym once, you didn't lose weight. Oh my God, I went to the gym today and I had a salad and I didn't lose any weight today. This sucks. This doesn't work. That's not how it works, right? There's a process you have to go through, and just trust the process that, as you go through this, it pays off down the road, and you have to just trust the process. And so what I coach is, look, if you want to make $1 million a year, $2 million a year, $4 million a year, $8 million a year, there's a process you have to go through. But a big piece of it right now is understanding the need to adopt technology. If you're not adopting technology at a very fast pace, you're dead. You're dead. There's you will not keep up. It's not that technology is going to replace loan officers, or technology is going to replace realtors, or technology is going to replace financial planners, or technology is going to replace entrepreneurs. That's not what it is. However, entrepreneurs that adopt technology at a very fast pace will replace entrepreneurs that don't.
Absolutely.
And so if you are not adopting technology at a fast pace, a very fast pace, then you're going to be pushed out.
So your number one piece of advice, if I'm just a perception check with you there, is as we go into this economic slowdown, as the cheese gets moved, as the shift happens, like Gary Keller says, we have to be using that idle time to adopt new technology and new skills. Am I hearing you right?
That's a big piece of it for sure. But the easiest piece is you find mentors that are doing it. Right? Like if I'm a loan officer and I'm closing 5 loans a month, find a loan officer closing 15 loans a month and learn from them.
Yes.
Don't tell me, well, my market says I can only close 5 loans a month because my realtors and blah, blah, blah. That's bunk. That's total bunk. That's the story you're telling yourself to justify the lack of results you're getting. That's it. Right? Just go find a loan officer closing 15, do as they do, you get the results. When you get to 15, then you go find a loan officer closing 30, do as they do, you get the results. Then go find a loan officer closing 50, do as they do, you get the results. Right?
And the same in every business.
And same with realtors, same with financial planners, right? But the day the day you stop and say, I'm now happy, that's the day you should be terrified. That's the day you got problems. That's the day, because I remember Tim Brahim walking in my office in 2003 and saying, Eric, you have big problems. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't feel like I have big problems. I'm making more money than God. I'm feeling like I'm in really good shape. He says, well, you're making the same amount of money this year that you made last year. I said, yeah, that's amazing. He says, no, you can't make the same amount of money this year that you made last year, because that means your business isn't growing. And if your business isn't growing, your best people are going to leave you because there's no opportunities for them. And if your best people leave you, then your business will contract. There is no static in business. There is no static in business. It doesn't exist. You're either growing or dying, period.
I was just looking at a set of quotes. I was looking at some Albert Einstein quotes this morning, and one of his quotes was, life is like riding a bicycle. There's only balance with forward momentum. That's exactly what you're saying. I think that's true, not only in business, but I think that's also true in all of the dynamics in our lives.
All
right?
Life, family.
Yes.
Everything.
So, brother, we have 5 minutes, and I don't want to end this interview and conversation without getting into your book, The Why of Money. So, give us just a brief overview. Why would we want to buy it and read it? And where can we get it?
Sure. It's on Amazon, right? So if you Google Eric Mitchell, The Why of Money, it's on Amazon. If you go to my website, thewhyofmoney.com, you can see some snippets. You can find me on YouTube. There's a bunch of videos on YouTube if you're curious to see some snippets about the book.
And they're great.
So I started with chapter 1, the 5 reasons. I put it right in chapter 1. And at the end of chapter 1, I said, look, if none of these 5 reasons resonate with you, close the book. Stop.
Don't read anymore.
Don't read anymore. If none of those 5 reasons resonate with you, like just the rest of it isn't going to matter to you. But if one of those 5 landed, if just one of those 5 landed, the next 9 chapters are going to tell you how to make $1 million a year or more. Right?
I love it.
I'm going to break it down step by step. And so what does it mean to understand wealth dynamics? Roger Hamilton is a brilliant strategist out of Australia, and he breaks down a concept called wealth dynamics. What does that mean to you in your business and your team building? What does disc profiling mean? What is understanding how to create mentors and coaches in your life, constantly transitioning to the next mentor, the next coach, because your business is transition. You have to transition to that next coach to get to the next level, whatever that is. Momentum. Absolutely. Yep. And only take advice from people that are qualified. So what does that mean? Right. So, one of the stories I talk about is my mom. I'm a mama's boy. I love my mom. Do I feel unconditionally loved by my mom? Of course I do. If the day ever comes when I have kids, right? Am I going to ask for advice from my mom about what does it mean to let your child know that they are unconditionally loved? Yes, she's qualified to give me that advice, right? But she wants to also give me financial advice. No, mom, love you. Love you. Now, I'm not going to be disrespectful. I'm going to listen to her, right? I'll nod, but I'm not going to follow any of the advice, right? She's not qualified. I'm not going to, none of that's real to me. And I'm not going to be disrespectful about it, but I'm not going to follow it, right? But how many people take financial advice from people they care about, but are broke?
Oh, man. Amen.
And it's like, why are you listening to that? That person's broke. They're telling you what doesn't work. They're broke. How are you listening to that?
They sold their home in the bottom of the real estate Great Recession, and they bought their home, rebought it 15 years later at the peak. Don't listen to that advice.
Yeah. Or you're a loan officer listening to another loan officer who closes 2 loans a month saying, well, here's how it means to be a loan officer. It's like that loan officer closes 2 loans a month. Why are you listening to them? Or you're a realtor talking to another realtor who closes 1 deal a month. And why are you listening to that realtor closes 1 deal a month? Why are you listening to them? Like, what are you doing? Like you're just going to get that result. Like, don't do that. Go to a realtor who's closing 10 deals a month and listen to that realtor, do as that realtor does. You'll get that result. Don't talk to me about your market and like, oh my goodness, that people talk to me, well, my market's really competitive. You want to hear about a competitive market? Let's talk about Los Angeles, California. There's a suburb called Glendale, just north of downtown Los Angeles. There's a strip of Glendale, California called Brand Boulevard. There's 8 blocks on one street. So Brand Boulevard, Glendale, California, 8 blocks. It's all high-rise office buildings, okay? So just imagine an 8-block strip, lots of high-rise office buildings, 72 mortgage companies in 8 blocks. Wow. Okay. Come talk to me about a competitive market, please. I know what it means to be in a competitive market. So don't talk to me about your market's more competitive than what I like. Don't do that. I know what it means to be. What you have to focus on is being more valuable. Are you more valuable? And what you got to stop talking about if you're going to be out in the marketplace is stop talking about price, product, and service. Stop talking about price, product, and service. I've got great service, and I've got great products, and I've got low price, and I've got blah, 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 blah. You and everybody else. So what? How's that valuable? So what? Yeah, but I've been doing this X amount of years, and I'll get your deals, and I'll blah, blah, blah. You and everybody else. You're saying the exact same thing as everybody else. How's that valuable? None of that's valuable. So stop doing it. Yeah. Right? Go to the people that are valuable and do as they do. And stop telling me about how the people that aren't valuable, right, what they're telling you to do.
Love it, brother. Well, I think that is a great way to end this interview. And again, if you want to find out more about Eric, if you want to learn more about the book, thewhyofmoney.com, and on social media, Eric, where can people find you?
Instagram, Eric T, at Eric T, ERICT Mitchell, Eric T Mitchell. I'm also on Facebook. You can find me, the guy with the shiny bald head, Eric Mitchell on Facebook. Twitter, Eric T Mitchell. LinkedIn, Eric T Mitchell. So I'm pretty easy to find.
I'll make sure we have links to all of those in the show notes. Thanks for coming and sharing so generously, man. It was an absolute pleasure to spend this time with you today.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.